Well, my next guest hasn't eaten a hot meal in 33 years, but don't pity him. He's never felt better. Aris Latam is a raw foodist and the founder of the Sunfired Culinary Institute, a Jamaica based company that specializes in training chefs and teaching people how to incorporate raw food into daily living. And by raw food, I mean fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, and even in some cases, meat and fish. None of it heated over 40 degrees Celsius. Raw foodists believe that eating predominantly uncooked foods can lead to significant health benefits. Latam debuted his gourmet raw food creations in Harlem, New York in 1979. He's spoken and presented at health conventions all over North America, catered for celebrities like Prince and Demi Moore, and opened a restaurant in Los Angeles. He's 61 years old, and Aris Latam is now based in Ocho Rios, Jamaica, but right now he's in Studio Q. Hello, sir.
Hey, hello. How you doing,
Very
man?
nice to have you here.
Yeah, let me give you one cue here.
All right.
Not in some cases meat and fish. That is
Never?
Not, no, never.
Okay.
No, I don't know how that got in there.
I don't know how
You
that got in
these-
there. That was the information we were given. Never meat.
Never, no animals at all. I love them so much. I would hate to bury them in my gut.
You know what's funny? As I was saying it, I was thinking this is a strange twist. But maybe there's some form of meat and fish I didn't know about that our researchers have found that you sometimes. So anyway,
Well, actually, meat is food. The original meaning of the word meat is food. So yeah, we do use nut meat. So we're not going to allow the flesh eaters to get
but
away
you've
with
done a
that
good
word
job.
exclusively.
I stand corrected. Tell me about this. I understand you were already a vegetarian before you switched to raw foods. This is 33 years ago. Why did you decide to go raw?
Well, it's strictly just analytical, just from an intellectual base, reading and studying these things, being in the college set at that time, hanging out with all of the wonderful back to the land counterculture people, Black Power movement, and, just trying to really empower ourselves and taking control of our lives and analyzing the whole issue of food and seeing how it's really, even back then, I mean, it was a weapon, a very serious weapon. And today even it is,
Still
it's
is.
like we're feeding certain people around the world some food that are definitely killer foods, that are really anti-life. And we need to bring this whole thing back home,
It's interesting. We think of, I think maybe mistakenly, of raw food as a contemporary phenomenon. I think of Woody Harrelson or people who've been doing this in the last decade. Was it a phenomenon? Was it a large part of the culture that you were experiencing in the 70s when you started promoting raw food?
Well, first of all, there's nothing new under the sun. As human beings, we've been on this planet for at least 1 million years based on recorded history. And it's only been 100,000 years since the advent of fire. So obviously for 900,000 years, human beings never, ever ate any cooked food. So we don't need any science or religion to give us any arguments as to what is the natural, original, and best food for human consumption. We're not cooked food eaters by nature. Yeah, in the 70s, the whole raw food thrust was based on sick care. Dr. Ann Wigmore, a very beautiful, wonderful lady, came up with the Hippocrates Health Institute and the whole concept of sprouting and really regenerating plant foods onto a level where we unlock the life force in them. And they were known as for their healing qualities. So, but when I came on the scene with my background from a Caribbean, high taste, culture, it was just, you really had to be sick to enjoy raw food back then, So, but I just brought the flavor into it. I spiced it, so we call it sun-fired food, gourmet living foods.
By the way, I do want to mention that Chaos is sitting at the table here.
Yes.
Born in Trinidad, by the way.
Oh, yes.
And Chaos, Aris, Chaos.
I just had a quick question. I tried raw food for, maybe I'm a vegetarian myself for like a year, and I found that I had this lust for cooked food. And Mike, that was an amazing point about 900 years of not eating raw food. But do you think sometimes through evolution, the human body and character changes, and things that we have the ability to kind of shape shift, and that becomes a part of our diet as well? Or like my question is, like, what's the line of what is and what is not when humans are such an evolving species?
Well, we're evolving, but then actually in today's world we're devolving.
Right.
Because they're sick. These human beings are sick from eating all these foodless foods. Because we had the power of fire, we can torch and roast animals and barbecue things, fried potatoes and things that are not food. Potatoes are not food for human consumption. You know, if you really even look into the original law of food, it says, "Behold, for I've given unto you the seed-yielding trees, and unto you they shall be your meat." Our food should come from a seed-yielding source. We're more closely related to the frugivorous creatures, the monkeys, the apes, the gorillas. We're fruitarians by nature. But of course, yes, we're strayed a long way from home. So we want to come back to the plant kingdom, you know, in full force. But if you just get into a fruitarian lifestyle right now, you're going to go through some major cleansing.
Let me just get the cooked, the case you made for uncooked food out of the way here. Because Dr. Richard Wrangham, professor of biological anthropology at Harvard University, and you know that there's people who make this argument, so I want to hear you on it. He argues that discovering fire and in turn cooking are the two things that set us apart from other animals, that's what makes us human. And so if cooking is so ingrained in what he would call human nature, why would we reject it?
Well, yes, it has set us apart. Yeah, we are the sickest animals in creation. It definitely has set us apart. It's killing us. It's destroying us. And we're using that power to destroy other animals, to grab some chickens and barbecue them. I mean, what kind of human beast we think we really are? You know, so it has set us apart, but in a very destructive way. You know, if you really look at all the animals in creation, you know, they eat fresh, whole foods. And even the flesh eaters, the carnivorous, they don't eat cooked meat. They don't even eat dead flesh. A lion would pass a dead cow sitting on the highway. But, you know, they grab their flesh fresh, warm. They swallow it whole. They got the necessary digestive chemistry to break it down. We are really living a very obscene life, you know, getting into all this advanced. Now we're going into to irradiating foods and what do you call this thing? Microwaving. I mean, if cooking wasn't fast enough, I mean, how fast you want to get to the grave?
Let me ask you about that because and we'll move on from. I mean, let's accept the premise that because there are, I think, a lot of people who want a raw food lifestyle and who find it difficult. There's challenges. One of them, it occurs to me that following a raw food diet can be time consuming as well as limiting if you enjoy eating out. How do people get around that?
There's no getting around it. You have to invest in your body. You have to invest in your life. Yes, you have to put time into preparing these. If you want to bring it up to a level where you can associate it with modern dining, you know. But we have technology today. We have the juicer, the blender, the food processor, the dehydrator. We can process food in a way where we don't destroy the life force in it. Cooking is an outmoded technology. We're in the 21st century. Let's get up to date, you guys. Come on.
And but you think people should just take more time in preparing and caring about their food?
Absolutely. We need to invest more in our body. It's the only thing that we own. We need to put it on the top of our agenda, whether it's time, money, or whatever it is. We need to eat very expensive food. We need to live in an expensive body. We don't live in our house.
And I assume you would make the case that we can have what we would call a balanced diet in a raw food situation.
Absolutely. If you look at the vegetable kingdom, there's no greater balance within one food kingdom of food. You have the fruits, you have the vegetables, you have the protein, you have the starches right within there, and you can eat a good 90% of all of these fresh plant foods raw. The ones that you cannot eat raw were not intended for you to consume as a human being.
Not all of the food that you're talking about, though, is available to us here, or say in various parts of Canada, or even parts of North America. And given that there's an ethical and ecological dimension to what you're talking about, recently, a couple weeks ago, I had the creators of the 100-mile diet here, where you only eat food grown within 100 miles. If you call your food ethical, but you live in a country like this one with winter, how ethical is it to rely on food that has to be imported for months of the year?
Well, how ethical it is to live away from where human beings were originally designed to live. We're tropical beings by nature. If you're living,
well, we can't all move, Harris. We live here in Canada.
Fine, you're living in an ice box, and if you follow this 100-mile diet and you only eat only thing that grows within 100 miles of Canada, you should be hibernated and fasting in the winter. Nothing grows here, you know, at that time of the year. So you're living on a collision course with Mother Nature. But hey, we're in the 21st century. This is a global village now. So you're bringing in foods from all over the world. I mean, it's really more cost effective to actually move to Jamaica than to bring food from Jamaica into Canada, because you're heating up these homes that you're living in. I mean, that's very, very expensive. That's more expensive than shipping foods. So we need to really, let's create the balance. Fine, let's live over here and let's enjoy the world as it is, but let's balance things out in a very effective way. We can bring in foods that don't grow where we live, but ideally, even though you should not eat foods that are grown within beyond 100 miles of your immediate locale, if you really analyze it very carefully, if you live where the sun don't shine, then you should at least try to eat it. So mangoes, oranges, bananas, sure, bring in your tropical food, bring in that sunshine, because ultimately it's all about oxygen.
So if we want to stay in Canada, which I think many of us do, you think it's okay for us to, you think there's a balance and ethically it's okay for us to be importing, despite the carbon footprint or whatever, the foods here. If people want to move into a raw food diet, should they be concerned about I think Chaos was sort of giving a nod to this too, about how their body is going to need to adjust to this? Would you recommend a slow weaning process, or how does one even begin this?
Yeah, well, it's an individual case that we have to look things at on, very, first of all, yeah, you want to go slow if you're not prepared for it, because first the body needs to detox. There's 3 pillars to optimum health. Cleanliness, good clean food, and physical activity, exercise. So initially, the initial thrust of raw food is going to go to detoxing the body, to cleansing the body. So you need to go slow. But if your mind is ready, the body can follow. This is a beast. This is an animal that we live in. We just need to train it appropriately. Cooked food is a very addicting food. It creates a lot of toxins in the body, and toxins crave more toxins. So if you're going into raw foods, you need to be able to let cooked food go and understand that it's a one-way street. Because if you go back and after the system has been cleaned and you start crunching on some cooked food again, that addiction is going to go deeper into the cellular level, and you're going to crave and demand more and more.
I have a confession for you.
Yes.
I've been somewhat distracted throughout this whole interview, and not just by your dazzling eyes, by this tasty-looking thing that you've brought in
yes.
here. What is this?
Well, what it looks like, as you can see, it's an art piece. It's a masterpiece. It's edible art. This is what we call a paradise pie. Okay. And this particular flavor here is an apple berry. So we wanted to stick with what grows within 100 miles of Canada here.
All right.
So the apple berry, the crust is made with almonds, walnuts, and dates. So there's no milk, eggs, butter, flour, none of that's destructive food in the crust. And then the filling is just fresh apples. We have a variety of apples that we slice them and we blend them with a jam. This is a blackberry cherry strawberry jam with dates, and it's just interspersed and spread right within the sliced apples.
You're not going to take that away, right? That's for us? Can we have? Or is that just a demonstration?
No, you can have your pie and eat it too.
Very nicely done. Aris Latam, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And thanks for the gift. Aris Latam, a raw foodist and the founder of Sunfired Foods. He runs the Sunfired Culinary Institute in Ocho Rios, Jamaica, and he joined us live here in Studio Q.